there! Thanks for joining me for Season 2, Episode 2 of the Great American Stampin' Show. My video is ready for you. I'm Shannon West, and this video is all about a specific product, and that product is Gilded Leafing. Gilded Leaf? Gilded Leaf. I can't remember the name of it. I'll show you in just a minute. But me and my three competitors, Julie, Jody, and Brandy, have created a little competition here, and we can't wait to see which project you like best. Now, 2 weeks ago, we featured a different product. What was it? I can't remember. But anyway, it was fun. Oh, punches, that's what it was. And Julie was selected by you all as the winner. Her project was so good, and her video too. But we'll see. We have a fresh start this week. We'll see who you pick. So I've worked really hard on my project. I hope you like it, and I can't wait to show it to you. Here are the supplies that I am going to be using for this project. So right off the bat, you'll notice the Waves of Inspiration stamp set along with the Waves dies. Here's the Gilded Leafing, the main event of this video, otherwise known as Gilded Leaf, Gold Leafing, Gold Fluffy Stuff, all kinds of names. That gold stuff is also what I've called it before. Cardstocks, Night of Navy, Daffodil Delight, Coastal Cabana, and what is this one called? Tahitian Tide. Inks, you can see that, a little bit of white ink as well. I've got a paintbrush. It's just like an old cheap one that I have a bunch of these in my craft room that I use from time to time for different things. And then iridescent pastel gems, as well as heat tool is really going to come in handy. So first thing I'm going to do is take these two blues right here and stamp on them with the big Waves stamp. This is a huge stamp. In fact, I had to get out my very biggest block to use it. But it's got really cool detail in it. And so I'm going to stamp it on both Coastal Cabana and on Tahitian Tide. And then I'm going to cut one out, fussy cut one of them out, and then cut the other one out with the die. Okay. These pieces of cardstock are just 3 by 5, 3 inches by 5 inches. Okay, that Coastal Cabana fussy cut out. Then I did two, actually, while I was at it. I did a navy blue wave and then my Tahitian Tide stamped wave. And I think what I'm going to do here is layer these on top of each other so that I get a nice little shadow of the dark behind the light. So I'll just kind of randomly put some glue down in a couple of places. Don't need very much glue for this because these layers are really dainty. I'm going to just kind of slide the top layer slightly one way or another, and then just layer it over like that. Ooh, that looks cool. So then once I lay it on the Coastal Cabana, you can see all the colors coming together, and that just looks really awesome. Moving on to the next part, I've got my Daffodil Delight piece of cardstock, and this is about a 1/2 inch on each side smaller than a card front, and I've got my Calypso Coral. So I'm just going to rub some of this on the top. Now you already know I'm using the Waves, so maybe you're figuring out that this is going to be kind of like a ocean scene, maybe a bit of a sunset, you might call it. I love doing sunsets, and I do sunsets a lot more than sunrises. I'm not really sure. I think they're easier because, I don't know, there's such a huge variety of colors that you see in sunsets. Sometimes they're pinks and oranges and yellows like this, and then other times they're more like blues and purples and stuff. It's so interesting. Okay, but that should work for my purposes here. And so now I want to take my white. I'm going to just use, well, let's see. I'll get a block I'm not using. And I'm just going to use a little bit of white craft ink and use that to create some clouds. And so I'm just going to take a little sponge and dab that on there, and then just kind of make some white blobs in the sky. This is kind of like the most interesting part, maybe, because it's a little bit, you just have to kind of go for it and not worry about it too much. Oh, I didn't get enough white, it looks like. And I want to fill up the whole area. I like odd number of clouds, so I'm going to go for 5 clouds. Let's see, that's 3. Okay, now this is maybe the trickiest part of what I'm doing on this project. I'm going to use my heat tool to dry this because it's craft ink, so it doesn't dry. Well, it might dry eventually, but it takes a long time, especially if you're in a humid climate. I'm not, but even still. So I'm going to dry these, but not till they're all the way dry. I want them to be a little bit wet still, and I'm going to use that moisture to stick my gilded leafing to it. So that's my goal. That's why I'm not drying it all the way. Okay, the spots that are still wet are a little bit tacky, and I need to act fast now and put this down. Woo! Okay, so this is the fun part. Oh my gosh, look at this stuff. This is crazy stuff. It can be staticky. It kind of gets all over. But in my opinion, when you're finished, there's nothing like it. So it's worth it. It's worth a little bit of extra effort. And also another thing I've noticed is like when you first open up your package, you're like, oh my goodness, I don't want to use these big pieces. I want to use small pieces, but I've been using it a lot. And guess what? Look how much. It's barely even made a dent in it. So don't worry about using too much. Okay, so what you want to kind of watch it though, and you don't want too much of this to stick down. Now I can use glue if I don't get enough, but the glue is kind of hard to control. It ends up being like big blobs. So here we go, and I've got a little more than I want here. So I'm kind of scratching some of it off. That piece right there is like way too much. I don't want any big, bold pieces like that, because that looks more like an actual sun in the sky. So I don't know what's going to happen. Am I going to be able to scratch that off? Let's see. All right, I like the way this is looking, and I think I've probably got enough for my purposes. So now I've got this all over my table. If you want to save some of it, you can kind of scoop it back up and put it in the container. I've got it here in my embossing tray, so I'll just kind of scoop those in there for now, just in case I need any more. And then put that aside. And I'm going to just actually add a little bit more of this because I think we lost some of the whiteness of our clouds. So let's put a little bit of that back in. And I'm just going to kind of let these dry naturally. So there's no mistaking that like these are clouds. Perfect. Okay, ready to move on. I'm going to put this aside. Well, actually, I don't need to put it aside. I am ready now to add my waves onto that. Look at that, so cool. And then I need a greeting. So for that greeting, I've got another little piece of Night of Navy, and I'm going to use the greeting from the stamp set, Your Strength is an Inspiration, and emboss it in white. Okay, it is time to start assembling, but I actually have one more thing I want to do. So I've got my greeting right there, and my waves are ready to go. I've got dimensionals in 2 places ready to set this down. But before I set that down, I need a sun. And so what I'm going to do is use some glue and my gilded leafing again for that. I put it away already, but I'm going to be getting that back out. So a couple different things I'm going to do. First of all, I'm going to just put the sun kind of right there. So I'm going to just put some glue down. You really only have one shot doing this, so you got to just go for it. And then I'm going to take my paintbrush, sometimes it's good to have it like a little bit wet so that it kind of helps it a little bit. So I don't want it to be too terribly big and blobby, so I'll just leave it like that. And now tweezers are really going to come in handy. So I'll get one of these big pieces in here and just lay it right down on top like so. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to hover this over and see how it looks. Yeah, I think it definitely makes the point there. Okay, a couple other places where I need some gilded leafing. I'm going to just put a teeny little line of this along the bottom of my greeting, because this goes down on top of the waves, and so there's other colors behind it, and this gold will really stand out. Okay, there we go. And then I'm just going to kind of slide it across here until I gather up a bunch of gold, and then just pinch it on there so that it stays. The last place that I'm going to do a couple of gold dots is here on the waves. And got to be really careful with these not to overdo it, because again, it becomes kind of a big blob. So I'm just going to pick a couple little spots and put a teeny bit of glue down and then move on. So maybe like right across the top, this would show. And then grab a couple pieces and stick those down. This is a really fun game. You can just keep playing until you have the right amount. So then you take your paintbrush. Whoops, that wasn't smart. I wasn't supposed to take my paintbrush with the glue. Oh, silly me. I've got this other paintbrush over here that came in my embossing kit. And that you can just kind of rub off any extra gold. And then here you can see how that is. Just kind of rub some of that off. So it kind of highlights that bottom there. And there's a little bit extra like up, but I kind of like that. You have to kind of let the gold do what it wants to sometimes. And I think that looks really natural and really beautiful. So I think that will work for my greeting. Perfect. And now there's the matter of this piece. So just clean this up and I'm good to go. Ah, beautiful. Okay. That's going to go on our Night of Navy cardstock card base. Where's my bone folder? Nice. And then I've got my little greeting right here with the dimensionals on it. So just pop this down right in this general area so that the dark will really stand out, as well as the gold will be a nice highlight. Hopefully you can see the beauty of this gilded leafing. Oh my heavens. Yes, that is looking awesome. This is something that will never look as good when it is photographed. Definitely the video is going to do it more justice. So I'll just stick a couple of these on here. I'm going to just pop these down here. So this is another bit of dimension. And then the last step is a little bit of iridescent rhinestones. Let's get these placed. Let's see. This is always the funnest part, but also sometimes it does take a minute, like trying to get them all in the right place, you know? So let's see. I'm going to put on 5, I think. So those are good. We'll do one over here, just kind of in the corner right there. And then maybe a couple up in the sky. Oh, which reminds me, I did forget one part. So before I put that one down, where's my birds? This little bird right here. Let's add some of these to the sky. Ooh, this is late in the game. I almost forgot, and I really hope I don't mess up. So I got to take a look at that and make sure that it is good. Let's see. I'll just put a couple of them over here. Make sure I don't have any edges there that'll catch. And then maybe one over here kind of doing flips. Ah, love it. Okay, that worked out. Phew, close call. Let's do maybe one right here. And then one more small one we'll put up here somewhere. Let's see. I want it kind of far away. Where's a good spot? Maybe right there. Yeah, so they're kind of in the clouds too. And this, my friend, is the end of Shannon's effort to use the Gilded Leafing. So you can see on one card here, I was able to use it in 3 different ways. To highlight a greeting in the clouds, and which was placed with the craft ink and then with glue. Oh, and a little bit here, so maybe 4 different ways. Placed with the craft ink, placed with glue, glue, glue. And of course you can use heat and stick as well. I'm assuming my competitors will use heat and stick, which is why I wanted to try these methods to differentiate myself and hopefully get your vote. So if you like it, thumbs up and like and subscribe and all that stuff. And we will be back in a couple more weeks with a new product. I hope you enjoyed this. And I want to say thank you for watching and enjoying. Hopefully you'll be able to find a time to be creative as well today or tomorrow or whenever it is. Okay. See you next time. Bye-bye.